Joe. What a play by Bird.
That's what 6'5" would do for you. I don't have that luxury. Nice give and go. Clark right at the cup, and she gets the bucket.
Tiny to Bird, behind the back to Parrish.
The hustle player.
Clark behind the back, Sonata with the...
In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to tell you exactly why Larry Bird's comments about Caitlin Clark are shaking up the basketball world. We're talking about a Hall of Famer co-signing a college player in a way we've never seen before. It's not just praise, it's a prophecy. And before we go there, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel to get all the details about your girl Caitlin Clark. Thanks again. Okay, back to it. So this is just the beginning. We're also going to dive into how Clark is changing the game right now. We're talking sold out arenas, skyrocketing TV ratings, and a style of play that's got even NBA superstars taking notes.
We've seen tensions between fans and players. We've seen the league and the Players Association, tensions with the media for the last couple of years, those remarkable ratings, the women's tournament outrating the men's. But there have been some growing pains as well, right?
By the end of this video, you'll understand why Bird's words aren't just hype, they're history in the making. Larry Bird, the legend himself, doesn't usually talk much, but he's breaking his silence to speak up about Caitlin Clark, and that's huge. We're talking about a guy who changed basketball forever, and now he's saying Clark's doing the same thing. Let's talk about Bird for a second. This guy dominated the NBA in the 80s like nobody's business. He wasn't just good, he revolutionized how people saw the game. Bird could shoot from anywhere, pass like a magician, and had court vision that seemed superhuman. He made the Celtics a dynasty and became one of the greatest players ever. Alright, so Bird's watching Clark play, and it's like he's looking in a mirror. The way she shoots, the way she passes, the way she sees the court, it's all so familiar. Bird's not just impressed, he's seeing himself in her game. That's insane. We're talking about a college player getting compared to one of the all-time greats. Bird didn't just praise Clark's skills, he told her to ignore the hater.
We've seen issues touching on homophobia and misogyny and racism. So when you think about the big picture and the Caitlin Clark effect and what's going on in the WNBA.
For me to see the vitriol that's out there on social media and the players having to deal with it and deleting their accounts and to have an app that does it for them now.
Can you believe that? A Hall of Famer is giving personal advice to a college player. He said what she's doing now will be remembered forever. That's not just a compliment, it's a prediction from someone who knows what it takes to change the game. You won't believe how similar their stories are. Both Bird and Clark are from Indiana. Both of them grew up practicing for hours, perfecting their shots. And now both of them are changing the way basketball is played. It's like history is repeating itself, but this time in women's basketball. Bird saying Clark's legit is like Michael Jordan giving his stamp of approval. We're talking about one of the most respected voices in basketball history saying, this girl's the real deal. It's not just another compliment, it's a game changer for how people see women's basketball. Think about it, Bird's not known for throwing around praise. He's brutally honest and has sky-high standards. So when he says Clark is special, you know it means something. He's not just talking about her being good for women's basketball, he's saying she's good, period.
And then, so we already know you going into the WNBA. It almost felt like the WNBA wasn't ready for what Caitlin Clark was going to bring with her. Women's basketball, that person will be back the following season, and probably the following season after that.
That she's changing the game in ways we haven't seen before. And Bird's right, Clark isn't just putting up numbers, she's changing how people think about women's basketball. She's bringing in new fans, selling out arenas, and making people who never watched before tune in. Just like Bird did in his day, Clark is making people fall in love with basketball all over again. Larry Bird's endorsement shows that Caitlin Clark isn't just good, she's changing the game forever. We're not just watching a great player, we're watching history unfold right before our eyes. And if Larry Bird says it's true, you better believe it. Clark's impact? It's not only about her sick moves on the court, she's sparking a revolution in women's basketball that's spreading like wildfire. So get this, packed arenas, skyrocketing TV ratings, and a whole generation of kids trying to be the next Caitlin Clark. That's the Clark effect, and it's reshaping the game as we know it. Remember when women's basketball games were played in small gyms with only a handful of fans? Those days are long gone thanks to Caitlin Clark. Now she's selling out arenas like she's an NBA superstar. We're talking about venues that used to struggle to fill seats for women's games, now having people fighting for tickets. It's like Clark has a magic wand, turning every game she plays into a must-see event. And don't even get me started on the TV ratings. They used to be so low that networks barely gave women's basketball a second thought. But now, when Clark's playing, those ratings are going through the roof. People who never watched women's basketball before are tuning in just to see what all the fuss is about. And let me tell you, they're not disappointed. And it's not just about the numbers. Clark's style of play is changing the game itself. She's got this deep shooting range that's making defenders sweat. And her playmaking abilities, they're on another level. She's not just scoring, she's making everyone around her better. It's like viewing a maestro while others are still in the sandbox. You know it's a big deal when NBA stars start taking notice. Guys like Steph Curry and LeBron James are watching Clark and talking about her game. These are some of the best players in the world, and they're impressed by what they're seeing. It's like Clark is bridging the gap between men's and women's basketball, showing that great basketball is great basketball no matter who's playing. Clark's impact is bigger than just basketball. She's becoming a cultural icon. Her jerseys are flying off the shelves. People who've never bought women's basketball merch before are lining up to get a piece of the Clark brand. It's not just about supporting her, it's about being part of this movement she's creating. And social media, it's exploding with Clark content. Every time she plays, Twitter and Instagram light up with highlights and reactions. She's not just trending, she's dominating the conversation. People who never talked about women's basketball before are suddenly experts on Clark's latest game. So here you have it. Clark is inspiring a whole new generation of players. Young boys and girls are out there on courts trying to copy her moves. They're practicing those deep threes, working on their no-look passes, trying to see the court the way Clark does. She's not just a player, she's a role model, showing kids what's possible in women's basketball. Caitlin Clark is doing for women's basketball what Steph Curry did for the NBA. She's not only changing how the game is played, she's changing how people see it. She's making women's basketball must-watch TV, filling arenas, and inspiring the next generation. This isn't just a moment, it's a movement, and we're all lucky enough to be watching it unfold in real time. So here's the deal. Larry Bird's words about Caitlin Clark, they're not just some empty praise. They're a crystal ball showing us the future of basketball. This isn't about one player being great, it's about Clark changing the game for everyone. Think about it. Clark's not just dominating on the court, she's reshaping women's sports and basketball as a whole. She's got rivalries that are lighting up the sport, kind of like how Bird and Magic Johnson did back in the day. It's making people who never cared about women's basketball suddenly tune in. And you know what? This might just be the beginning. How high can Clark take women's basketball? Man, the sky's the limit. We might be watching the start of something huge. And you're gonna wanna be right here when it's happening. So thanks for watching, and here's another video of what Steph Curry has to say about Caitlin. Now let's go.